So this is for Dan, who asked a question online about some judo video that I showed. It was some people doing judo kata. So judo has kata. The kata are two-person kata. So two people walk up here together, they bow to each other, it's very formalized, and then they assume this, position, and then they do this, and then there's this, and then they execute a throw. Now, I'm not suggesting to be a judo teacher. I'm not a judo teacher. I did judo in Tokyo, loved it, thoroughly enjoyed it. At the end of the day, karateka, but I have been taught a lot about my karate through judo. So I'd like to just talk about that for a minute. The question was, I've heard of kuzushi, but I've never heard of tsukuri. Tsukuri is a part of a throw. And there is another part of the throw called kake. And so what I would like to do today is just very, very briefly talk about kuzushi, tsukuri, kake, as it applies to throws. I think you can see these principles in your kata. The principles mean nothing unless they can be done against a person who doesn't want to get thrown. And people are kind of like cats. Their body is naturally going to find a way not to go over backwards or forwards or heel over, head over heel. You see this in the pool when kids are learning how to dive, and for the life of you, you can't get them to take their heels and put them up over their head and dive into the pool, because we're not built to be that way. And so people, when they are in fights, will naturally find the way to avoid being thrown. That's why we have kuzushi, tsukuri, and kake. In kata, you might see this all over the place. The most obvious example is in pinyan godan. You come here, and then you have this pushing and pulling motion. And then from here, you come over the top and drop down. So you can see kuzushi, tsukuri, and kake. So let's talk about what those mean. Kuzushi means to collapse. This is what kuzushi means. Doesn't mean leverage. It actually doesn't mean off balancing. It means to break down. So the first step in a throw is to break your opponent's posture, to break your opponent's balance. People are naturally going to be balanced with their hips over their feet and their shoulders over their hips. This is a balanced position. When we change that position, all of a sudden we are off balance. This is called kuzushi. Tsukuri literally means to make. Ryori o tsukurimasu. What does that mean?
To make food.
To make food. Ryori o tsukurimasu. To make food. Tsukuru just means to make. In this case, probably a more appropriate English translation for that would be to fit in or to set up. It's the setup of the throw. I can gain kuzushi, but unless I then place my body in a position to take advantage of that off balancing, the person's simply going to regain balance. So if I take Kale here and I establish kuzushi, right? If I go here and I break his posture down, I could do that. But if I don't do anything to then complete the throw, he's just going to regain his posture. That's what people do. When they lose their posture or their balance, they simply adjust so that they're balanced. So if Kale and I are doing it, I can gain kuzushi. The tsukuri is what I do next to put myself in a position to execute the throw. Or said another way, to put myself in a position relative to his body to allow me to take advantage of that moment of off balancing. Okay? So, we'll just do a simple uchimata. In an uchimata, this would be the kuzushi. The tsukuri would be me stepping in like this and putting my body in a position to execute the throw. This would be the tsukuri. I would assume this position here, that's the tsukuri. Okay? That is placing my body now in a position where I'm under his center of gravity to execute the throw. If it's a seoi nage, kuzushi, tsukuri. Here, his body is no longer going to be able to recover its balance. He can try, but he can't. Okay? Because I am now under his center of gravity. I have him locked here, and all I have to do is execute the throw. Kuzushi, tsukuri. Kuzushi, tsukuri. Kake. Kake means literally to hang or to execute, to do the thing. So, once I have gained kuzushi, and then I put myself in a position relative to him to be able to execute the throw, now all I have to do is follow through with the throw. So I go here, and he falls. Okay? That becomes the kake. Every throw has a kuzushi, a tsukuri, and a kake. So let me just show you a few. If we're here, I have kuzushi, tsukuri, and kake. And that's called a taiotoshi. In a little closer time. Just stand normal. It might look like this. Okay? You see him off balance, and then you see me place myself under his center of gravity. If it's a seoi nage, it might look like this. You see here, off balance, and then me putting my body into position or doing what's called the tsukuri. The only thing I'm not doing now is the kake. Which would simply be finishing the throw like that. Okay? That's the three elements of a throw. Kuzushi, tsukuri, and kake. They're principles. This isn't judo. It is judo because they're very, very good at throwing people on their back. The principles are found in karate. We often don't refine those principles in great enough detail to be able to actually execute them against someone who doesn't want to get thrown. So, there you go. Dan, I hope that helps a little bit.